But sunshine in the morning, give way to partly cloudy in the afternoon, give way to mostly cloudy in the evening. Southwest winds 10 to 20 miles an hour. Highs this afternoon in the mid 40s. Our nighttime lows will chill down to the upper 20s tonight, they tell us.
BYU Cougars remained hot on their home court. Number 17 BYU defeated UCF 90 to 88.
Oh, seriously? Really?
90 to 88
Yo,
in Big 12
a
action.
blowout.
Jackson Robinson came off the bench to pour in a team-high 21 points. Next up for the Cougars, they visit Oklahoma State Saturday afternoon. And by the way, Utah State will visit Wyoming tonight. Always tough to play in Laramie.
In Laramie, yeah.
That's sports.
Oh, yeah. Right button is this one.
All right.
You do realize here in the state of Utah that the real estate and insurance markets actually can be in flux?
Yes, which I love. We looked it up one day. Like, I think the population was like 10 people.
Something like that, yeah.
And it's in between middle of nowhere and Wendover and Salt Lake.
Yes.
Yeah, somewhere along that road that goes from like that part to that part of the state. I don't travel on that part of the state, so.
You ever driven up to Salt Lake, not going on the interstate?
I've come down back through.
Have you come that way?
It's the old mine. You take off at. Santaquin, I think, is that exit, and you go out. You go to the west, and then you go
Alberta,
through.
Yeah.
Goshen. Yeah. I've gone out through that way, but I don't know if I've ever gone through.
I've of course been to Goshen because you know what goes on there.
I have a really good friend that lives in Goshen.
Oh yeah, the filming.
Yeah, but you can actually, if you get on Redwood Road up in Salt Lake City, you can actually stay on that road
All the way.
come down the west side of Utah Lake to Goshen.
I've been on parts of that. I've also been on parts of, like, you go out through Tooele and you come back down.
You can come that way too.
Through.
Yeah.
I haven't been, like, on it fully, but I've been on parts of that as well.
Yeah, that's a fun drive. I like that.
But, like, I'm pretty untraveled in the northern part of the state, like the northwest part of the state. I know where Vernal is and, like, Roosevelt and Dinosaur Track. Yeah. So I'm, like, more familiar with that area.
Oh, okay.
But anything northwest of Salt Lake.
So you've never been to Snowville?
No.
Okay.
But then, like, I know more back roads here. I probably know more things. Uh-oh, Chris is giggling. What's happened?
The Babylon Bee.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh.
I should be. I should be doing that.
But really
the
quick,
article yesterday, 99.9% of the people support Mitt Romney being sent to Ukraine to fight.
Right.
oh my. Okay, really quickly, happy Valentine's Day to my children who are on their way to school right now. Know that Mama loves you very much, and I hope you have a blessed day. And on that note, I do love that today is Valentine's Day, and it's Ash Wednesday, and it's just start of really cool things in the Christian religion, type of things. And I think that that today of all days, is a really good day to just, find 3 things and be grateful for them. Because, Valentine's Day started from a horrific event, but now it's turned into, a love and carefree day for most of us. But we need to recognize or give grace or send love out to the universe, for the different things there. And AI in my world means something completely different than artificial intelligence. And I just want to, the way that was coming was, I love Rory. He's a good guy, but goodness, that was just a little bit. So,
So this will be your last week working with us.
Well, I'm just grateful. AI has artificial intelligence, has its place, but I really hope that it doesn't take the human out of all of us.
The Big Picture Morning Show has been going on artificial intelligence since it started, so.
Well, no, doubt that. But today's really cool, too, because we have Jenny Simpkins in with Body Revive, And I'm really excited just to go through how you can start doing self-care and self-love, really. Because, I mean, it is Valentine's Day, and you're allowed to love yourself first. And make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And for me, that starts with the things that I do, to take care of me and make sure that I have my oxygen on first, and that's through massage therapy. How are you today, Jenny?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good. We're having so much fun already. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, today really is, we really try to promote, I mean, obviously, Valentine's Day for massage therapists in general is the busiest time of the year
Oh,
for
really?
us.
Now, you know what? In
Interesting.
reflection, that makes absolute sense. That does make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the one day that we're trying to actively take care of ourselves or our couple.
Well, yeah, and spend time with your favorite person in the whole wide world, and we try really hard not to push that on just couples in general. If you want to spend time with the person you love most, if that's your best friend or your kids or your mom, like, come on in and treat each other, spend time with each other. You don't have to talk to each other. Just come
Right.
in and be together.
It's good to spend time talking, though. I think that's okay.
Yes, that's totally okay. No arguing, though.
Well, no. You know what's funny is there was a statistic somewhere, and I'm going to misquote it horribly, but couples survive if they talk about things on a more regular basis. Like, they talk about politics, they talk about finances, they talk about all of these things, and they talk and they spend time together, which is pretty cool because, like, my husband is my best friend, and we love spending time together. Like, whether that's with the kids or just with us, like, we're always working and doing projects together. We know how to just relax together, meaning, like, he chooses the movie and I sit and eat my ice cream, and we have just spending time together. And so massage therapy and couples massage is kind of like the gateway drug to all of this.
It really is. I mean, it gives you that time just to be in the moment together. I mean, and like I said, you don't have to talk. You can talk. It's all entirely up to you. When you're coming in to get a couples massage, you're getting into a relaxed state. Sometimes it's a lot easier to be able to communicate, especially even after a couples massage together. My husband and I, that's something we always strive to do whenever we do get time off together, is we go and get a couples massage, whether we're out of town or just having like a date night. It's really important to us to be having that self-care within our relationship. And for him and I, we hardly ever get the opportunity to spend time together. I'm running a business, we have kids, he works for UPS, and he works the night shift a lot, and so for us to be able to find that time together, it's really hard. And I can tell you, we have finally had a date night like a month ago, and it was probably one of the best nights we had. We ended up sitting in the restaurant for like 2 hours just talking because we finally got that time together.
Well, and it's really key too, because one thing you bring up is intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
Right, being intentional with your schedule and knowing that there's a million gazillion moving parts, but if we're intentional about making sure we're setting time for ourselves,
Yes.
for our spouses, or your significant other, however you want to say that. But if you're being intentional with that, there's a whole nother level of making sure those things happen. And
Right.
Valentine's just happens to be one of those times.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. I mean, we're in. It's the same thing. We're in this constant routine where we're taking the kids to school, taking them to soccer practice, going to work, taking care of our families. And when it comes to our relationships, that has to come first too, where our relationships are going to fall apart. So,
Well, and you bring up a really good thing, repetitiveness.
yes.
Right? Our muscles get in this very repetitive mode, and then we go to do something slightly different and we strain a muscle.
Yeah.
Or we pinch something in our back, or we do this, and it's because we're not taking care of ourselves.
Yes, exactly. And so nurturing our relationships is the exact same thing. And coming in, just doing something together that you both enjoy, like a couples massage or a couples float. We have all of those options.
I was gonna say the float was incredible, by the way.
I'm so glad you like this.
I had my first float from Body Revive over on South Main in the IFA shopping complex, I guess about a month ago now.
Uh-huh.
But it was it took me forever to relax. I'll call it out, everybody. All of my friends listening, yes, I am an uptight person, and that's okay. But the float really, really, like, after the first 10 minutes or so, I was able to just relax. And really, you literally float. I don't know how else to describe that. I couldn't push my legs or push my torso or push my arms down to the bottom of this entire 20-inch deep thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, and so the float, I mean, the reason why it's so difficult for you to be able to sink yourself to the bottom is because of the amount of salt that we have in there. There's 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt that's in there, and so it's probably more salt than water, honestly, and so that's why you're just floating.
I feel like you're almost making cookies. There's more chocolate than dough.
Yeah. I mean, and the beautiful thing about it is somebody like you and me, where we do have a really hard time just relaxing, making that part of a normal part of your self-care routine. The more you do it, the easier it's going to be. And the first time I got into a float, it probably took me more like 20 to 30 minutes to truly relax into it. And my husband, because we did it together, he was asleep after like half an hour and he was snoring in that thing. I was really grateful that he had the opportunity to just kind of relax himself. And so our float, it's open. It's not a pod like most sensory deprivation tanks are. But we've done everything we can to make the room that it's in as sensory deprived as possible. So everything's customizable. We can adjust the heat for you. We have an intercom in there. You can just call the front desk and ask us to turn the heat up. You have control over the lights. There's a light inside the float, and there's some
Ambient
lighting inside the room. And there's speakers in the float. We can hook that up. We can connect it to your phone, or we can connect it to our own music system up front, and you can choose to listen to a book, a meditation, or have it completely silent in there. And we've had a lot of couples come in actually that are starting to use it regularly. It's big enough for 2 people. We have, if you are uncomfortable with laying flat in the float, we have pool noodles that you can put underneath your knees and your neck for extra support. And the amount of magnesium that is in there, that's really what helps get you into that relaxed state. We actually add in extra magnesium crystals. That's more than the Epsom salt. And so you're getting like 250% more magnesium, which we are all deficient in. And our body absorbs it better through our skin than orally. And so and magnesium is like a natural muscle relaxer. So by the time you're done, which you've experienced, you probably felt like you just had a really good massage and nobody even touched you.
Yes. Well, and that's what I'm going to say a compounded effect was, because I also had a massage, from you specifically, and then I went into a float, and then I was more relaxed than I had been, for a long time from that. And so, but then that leads me into, talking about the memberships and different things, because the float, you basically just make sure that nobody else is using it, and you can go in and use it with one of your memberships.
Yep, exactly. You can go online and schedule it. So we have a few different memberships that are available that range anywhere from $50 to $259, depending on what you're wanting. And whatever benefits you don't use that month, they roll over into the next month. So you're being able to keep what you've paid for and continue to use it. And so we have memberships that are good for just our sauna, and we have a Zen Den. So if you're really just in a state of bliss and you're not ready to go home yet, you can get in a robe, come sit in our Zen Den. We have tea available. You can journal, you can sleep, you can get under a blanket, whatever you like to do.
Nice. And it's really important too, because all of this, is available, to couples, to singles, to families.
Yes.
It really just depends, on what your need is, but it's a kind of a custom fit to what each individual or circumstance needs. The other thing that I do love about Body Revive, and I've loved this, through our entire history together. I think we've been doing business and/or having, I've been having treatments from you for 4 years now. Is the scar tissue release and the flexology that you almost do. I know it's not flexology, but like the stretches that you force my shoulders to go into because I sit at a desk all day long, or different things, and it helps release all of that. Can we talk about that for just a sec?
So like I've talked about in the past, scar tissue, when we get stressed out, scar tissue actually starts to grow more in the body. If you've ever had an injury, you don't have to have a cut in your skin. Any kind of injury you've ever had, there's scar tissue there. And when we get stressed out, it can actually grow. And when we're sitting at desks all day, in flexion, with our shoulders coming forward like this, and we're probably slouching.
You mean bad posture?
Yeah. And then being on our phones, and then driving, and then coming home, and we're probably just slouching in our couch. That's causing tension in our shoulders up here in our chest. And so, and then if you've ever had a neck injury or a shoulder injury, circulation through there is getting really, really slow or dried out. And so what I do, I have special tools that I like to use that's actually got an electrical current. It doesn't hurt at all. You might feel a little bit of tingling, and that helps to loosen up the scar tissue. And once I can loosen up the scar tissue, then I can get in there and do the mobility work that I need to do to help get flexion back into your shoulders or your hips or wherever you're having issues.
Which is just incredible, because I mean, and I know to some degree all massage therapists have their modality and their, you know, favorite things, and it seems like you really gravitate towards the scar tissue and the releasing of that stuff because you have the right tools, and like the cupping methods you use, you know, the different things that way, it really does get deeper than most massage therapists, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. Sorry, I just want to circle back a little bit to the float therapy. I just
Please.
thought of one more thing
No,
that
please do.
feel is really important to share, especially for us as parents. Recently, I had another client. She brought her 16-year-old daughter to float. Her daughter has very high anxiety, teenager, you know, already
Going through all of the things.
going through all of the things, already edgy and argumentative. She brought her daughter in, and I could tell you, before her daughter floated, her daughter's like, you know, Mom, I don't want to do this, or
Snarky.
just snarky, you know. And she was very sweet. She was just kind of like unsure about the whole thing. Got her in the float for 30 minutes. That was it. Completely different person when she came out. Her mom told me that she didn't argue the rest of the night. She was just super pleasant. She said that her daughter said herself that her mind felt clear and fluid. She went to bed, didn't come up. I don't know. You don't have teenagers yet, but
No, not
teenagers
yet.
are like toddlers, and they're like my son, who's severe ADHD. He goes to bed, then he gets up, gotta get a drink of water, and then he goes back to bed. Oh, I gotta plug my earphones in, then goes back to bed. I forgot to get my laptop in my backpack, then goes back to bed. And
goodness.
so her daughter, she said her daughter was like in bed, sound asleep, and is already asking to come back to float again because of how good it made her daughter feel. I did the same thing for my son. I forced my son. He's 15, and he's like, I don't want to do it, you know, doesn't want to admit that I might be right about something. He's against anything I suggest for him. And he came, I got him in the float for half an hour, and afterwards he was just very quiet. He's a chatterbox regularly, and I asked him, I was like, how do you feel? And he's, I don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean I don't know? And he's like, just got this look like he doesn't want to admit anything. And I'm like, you liked it? And he's like, yeah, I liked it. and so now he's like ready to come back because of how much it did for him and relaxed him.
So kind of give us the parameters on age then. Like what are some good ages to start this with? And if I'm 80 years old, is it still a safe practice for me?
I think that depends on the kind of medical conditions you might have.
Okay.
But I've had some older people come into the float, and they've had a really good experience.
As long as you can get in and out.
As long as you can get in and out, and you're not like a fall risk or anything like that.
Okay.
But as far as like young children, a parent has to be in there with them if they're under the age of 12. We do have like a regulation that if anybody uses the float as a toilet, there will be a $2,000 fee to clean it. So you want to make sure that your kids are very well potty trained before they get in.
Fair. So I would recommend anybody at the age of 15 or older then.
So I allow, if they're 12 or older, they can get in without an adult. Anything under them, they need to have a parent in there with them.
Okay. Which is an incredible tool, especially because it seems like it's the one thing in town. Now, I don't know everything about town, but I'm pretty well versed of things in town, that does not have a technology component to it. And sometimes the kids and ourselves just need to be turned off from all things.
Yes, that's exactly it. I mean, my son sees a psychologist regularly for his ADHD and his impulse issues, and he has said many times, get him into activities that are like more of a mindful practice, like yoga and like other sports, where there's just
non-technology.
Non-technology, where it's just a nice flow. And so I even asked him, I was like, well, I've heard these things about flow therapy for kids, and he was like, yes, absolutely. And so after hearing my other clients' experience on the float, then I was like, I've got to force my son in there somehow. And so getting him in there, and then hearing his experience afterwards, once he was finally willing to admit.
I would say it's a typical man thing,
Yes,
but I have no idea about that as two of the all in time. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us for Wired Wednesday. It's always a pleasure to have Body Revive in the studio and talk about the different ways we can take care of ourselves. It sounds like you are booked up for today. You have a full day.
Yes, we do. We do have one opening for one person this afternoon. So if anybody wants to snag that for some self-care love, then give us a call.
Great. Body Revive on South Main next to IFA in the shopping complex. This has been your host, McKinnon Hansen, your local Farm Bureau Financial Services agent at 435-592-2021. Also serving Southern Utah with real estate through the Larkin Group at Keller Williams Realty, 435-592-2021, or Google the Larkin Group. What?
I'm just wondering if you're going to use AI for your Valentine's Day celebration.
Oh, no. No. In fact, we're road tripping tonight. So
where are we going?
We're going to go south and pick up some things, and then we're going to come home. So it's about a 6-hour drive round trip.
Nice.
You going to Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
Just to pick up a couple of things and then come home. So it's not even, but we get to spend time together. Hopefully I can con him into listening to an Audible book, and get one totally done, because 6 hours is a fair drive time.
The Gap in the Gain is a really good book to listen to.
All right, book recommendation. What about you, Dr. T? Quickly, a book recommendation.
Reading a book right now called The Power of Stillness.
Ooh, I just got recommended the Tin Cup, the Tin something. It's about World War II.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
One last time, let's get a check of what's happening on the highways. Captain Craig's got our final update of the morning. Mr. Bennett, what are you seeing as we wrap up the commute?